DD India.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Coming up in the next hour. Biden invites Trump to White House for peaceful transition of power as Harris concedes defeat. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates Trump on the spectacular victory. India's consulate in Toronto cancels consular camps due to lack of security assurance from Canadian agencies. Germany's coalition on edge after Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacks his finance minister, faces snap elections. And India's President Draupadi Murmu in Goa to witness Day at Sea event demonstrating naval operations aboard INS Vikrant. Donald Trump's victory in the US presidential elections has surprised many, but has even shocked others. Right from international institutions to domestic clienteles, all are keeping their fingers crossed over significant impact of his second term. DD India's Akhilesh Soman reports on what is in the offing for the world with the Trump 2.0 presidency.
As Trump returns to the White House, the issue of illegal immigration is grabbing the headlines everywhere. This has been a pivotal issue during campaigning, and Donald Trump is expected to walk the talk when he assumes the charge. That would potentially mean renewed focus on immigrants and many deportation drives. A second term might mean a return to stringent curbs and of the border wall initiatives.
We are finally going to build up our country. We're going to defend our borders, and we are going to protect our citizens. We're going to protect our land. We are going to protect our country. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun.
Trump has traditionally focused on tax cuts, deregulation, and a pro-business approach. A victory could see renewed tax relief, particularly for corporations and higher income groups, along with efforts to reduce government regulation, especially in industries like energy and manufacturing. Trump may also push for policies aimed at reshoring manufacturing jobs, focusing on America First principles to reduce reliance on imports. Donald Trump is also likely to target parts of the Affordable Care Act, popularly known as Obamacare, aiming to reduce government involvement in healthcare. While he did not fully repeal it in his first term, he may attempt new modifications or alternative healthcare measures. Trump may also prioritize law and order policies, echoing themes from his first term, which focused on supporting police and enacting strict measures against crime. Trump in his first term did not recognize climate change and global warming as big relevant issues. In his second term, he may reverse climate-focused policies of the United States and push for increased fossil fuel production. In his first term, the US withdrew from the Paris COP21 climate accords. European Union and NATO might be a bit skeptical about the impact of Trump's second presidency. Trump may renew pressure on NATO members to increase their financial contributions, with the possibility of scaling back US involvement. Trump might revisit and renegotiate agreements with key partners like the European Union, Canada, and Mexico, emphasizing terms seeking concessions for American industries and workers. Trump is also likely to maintain tough stance on Iran, possibly reviving maximum pressure tactics to curb Iran's regional influence and nuclear ambitions. And lastly, the UN officials are also skeptical about support from the US in their financial and logistical burdens, including the peacekeeping operations worldwide. Trump, in his first term, slashed US contributions to the UN peacekeeping budget and to key UN agencies like the World Health Organization and UNESCO. However, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that he was ready to work with the US President elect Donald Trump while congratulating him on his election as the US President. Akhilesh Suman's report for TD India.
As Donald Trump won the U.S. presidential election, his Democratic rival Kamala Harris has conceded defeat a day after the results of all states came out. U.S. Vice President and Democratic candidate for U.S. presidential race chose Harvard University in Washington, D.C. for her concession speech to accept defeat, a common tradition in U.S. elections. To address the party members, she came with her husband, Douglas Craig Emhoff, and running mate Tim Walz. In her concession speech, she accepted the result and said she will continue to pursue the issues she raised during the elections.
The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
In her concession speech, she said she had called President-elect Trump, congratulated him on his triumph and promised to engage in a peaceful transfer of power. She also thanked U.S. President Joe Biden, her running mate Walz, and millions of party workers for their relentless efforts for fighting the election. She urged them not to lose hope and continue the fight for freedom and justice.
Look, I am so proud of the race we ran and the way we ran it. And the way we ran it. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves.
Meanwhile, President Joe Biden also called Donald Trump to congratulate the president-elect on his victory and invited him to the White House to discuss transitioning administrations. The meeting is expected to take place very soon. Biden also came out in support of Kamala Harris, saying she's been a tremendous partner and public servant full of integrity, courage and character. He added that Harris will continue the fight with purpose, determination and joy and be a champion for all Americans. Above all, he said that she will continue to be a leader our children will look up to for generations to come as she puts her stamp on America's future. Biden will address the nation on Thursday at 1600 hours GMT. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also spoke with Donald Trump to congratulate the Republican leader on his U.S. presidential election victory. Netanyahu's office said in a statement that the conversation was warm and cordial. The statement added that the two leaders discussed the Iranian threat and the need to work together for Israel's security. Earlier in a tweet, Netanyahu had said that Trump's historic return to the White House offers a new beginning for America and a powerful recommitment to the great alliance between Israel and America. Ukraine too had a phone call with Trump, during which Volodymyr Zelensky agreed to maintain close dialogue and advance cooperation. President Zelensky said strong and unwavering U.S. leadership is vital for the world and for just peace. He added that people today want confidence, they want freedom, they want a normal life. And for them, that means a life free from Russian aggression with a strong America, a stronger Ukraine and strong allies. Trump has always been a sharp critique of the scale of U.S. military and financial support for Kiev and vowed to end the conflict with Russia. Trump's victory over Harris raises questions over the future of United States support for Ukraine, which has so far been key to Ukraine's survival against Russia. Some Ukrainian political analysts believe that Trump will likely push for swift talks to end the ongoing conflict. They also predict that US aid under Trump could change from grants to something more akin to that of a loan. How Trump responds to Russia's conflict with Ukraine could set the tone for agenda and signal how he will deal with NATO and key US allies. He's been critical of Biden's support for Ukraine and said that under his presidency, the US would fundamentally rethink NATO's purpose. Trump, who has rallied for years against NATO members that fail to meet the agreed military spending targets, warned during the campaign that he would not only refuse to defend nations delinquent on funding, but would encourage Russia to act as suitable. Besides, world leaders have been congratulating Donald Trump for capping a stunning political comeback. The leaders of Australia and New Zealand extended greetings, saying they would look to strengthen their cooperation with the US in their region, including in the AUKUS deal.
I look forward to talking with President Trump and working with him in the interests of both of our nations. President Trump has run a campaign based on change and he's made it clear he's going to do things differently. So we shouldn't be surprised as things change, but equally we should be really confident in ourselves and our place in the world as well and our ability to deliver on our interests together as Australians.
Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba too held a phone call with US President-elect Donald Trump. Ishiba said the two leaders had agreed to organize a face-to-face meeting as soon as possible. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol also held a telephonic call with the US President-elect Donald Trump and discussed continuing close ties across all areas in security and economic fields. Yoon and Trump shared concerns over North Korea's deployment of troops backing Russia in the war against Ukraine and Pyongyang's continued military provocations, including ballistic missile launches. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a telephone conversation with Donald Trump and congratulated the president-elect on a historic election victory. After Trump's re-election, PM Modi highlighted that Donald Trump's win reflected the trust of Americans in his leadership. Reflecting on the positive momentum of the India-US partnership during President Trump's first term, the Prime Minister of India recalled their memorable interactions, including in the Howdy Modi event in Houston in September 2019 and the Namaste Trump event in Ahmedabad during Trump's visit to India in February 2020. Both leaders reiterated the importance of India-US comprehensive global strategic partnership for the benefit of the people of both countries as well as for global peace and stability. They reaffirmed their commitment to working together to further strengthen bilateral ties across technology, defense, energy, space, and several other sectors. Donald Trump has recorded a historic win in the presidential elections. As he prepares to lead America again, an artist and his painting outside the White House is giving a message of unity after an intensely polarized contest. Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, US, Mexico, all are featured in one frame. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh reports from Washington, D.C.
We are in front of the White House in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump has just secured a big win in the presidential elections. Here in the lawns of the White House, we saw this interesting painting artwork taking shape. I have with me an artist from Mexico, is a U.S. citizen now, Roberto. Roberto, tell us about your work and what is the message that you're conveying through this work?
We have a new president, and it's a president again, you know. This painting is for me to say, you know, as far as, you know, what I'm expecting as a citizen from the United States, unity. You know, I have already, you know, some flags. I have the Mexican flag in a way to say, you know, we expect Trump to unite. And I guess, you know, people, you know, kind of expected that, you know, but we hope that he'll do better this time.
Right. And if you look at the elements in the painting, you can see Donald Trump, you can see the Mexican flag, the American flag. What's interesting is that the lady that you see next to Donald Trump, Roberto, tells me represents Kamala Harris. Roberto, important message of unity between leaders?
Yes, what they should do, you know, is get together, you know, and unite. You know, we as citizens from the United States expect good administration, and if they do that, then we will have a good economy and good harmony, you know, and they would do a good message, if, you know, if they hug together just the way I'm doing it in the painting.
Thank you very much, Roberto, for speaking with DD India. That was artists talking about the message of unity. Expectations are high from the president-elect Donald Trump. With camera person Jaishankar, Shubhendu Ghosh from the lawns of the White House in Washington, D.C. for DD India.
In news from India now, the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, arrived at INS Hansa in the southwestern state of Goa on Thursday. Upon her arrival, President Murmu received a 150-men ceremonial guard of honor and was welcomed by Chief Minister of the state, Pramod Sawant. The purpose of her visit is to embark indigenous aircraft carrier INS Vikrant and witness naval operations at sea. In her maiden sail, the President will witness the full spectrum of multi-domain naval operations, including surface ships operations, battle actions, submarine exercises, air power demonstrations, including takeoff and landings by deck-based fighter aircraft or helicopters, and a flypast by the naval aircraft. India's Culture and Tourism Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat attended the World Travel Market in London on Wednesday. The Indian Tourism and Culture Minister expressed happiness on attending the event. In a social media post, Shekhawat said the World Travel Market is an excellent platform for engaging with global travel industry leaders, exploring new destinations and showcasing India's diverse tourism offerings. India is participating in the three-day event with the aim of boosting inbound tourism and promoting the country as a top global travel destination. The Indian minister also held bilateral meetings with France, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain leaders, where the leaders discussed various tourism-related issues. You're watching DD India News Hour, still to come on this show. Hurricane Rafael hits Cuba as Category 3 storm heads into the Gulf of Mexico. Australia proposes a ban on social media for those under 16, citing risks to mental and physical health.
As our ecosystems change, we not only need to amplify our efforts to save them, but we also need to adapt our lives.
Today, everything grows here. At an altitude of 5,000 meters, we grow mushrooms, strawberries, watermelon and tomatoes. It's been made possible by the introduction of technology.
It's like with stocks. You diversify your portfolio to minimize risk. That's what we're trying to do with the mixed forest too.
People's mindset is changing in favor of electric mobility, and I see huge success in the future as well.
Same eelgrass is one of the most important elements in the ecosystem along the Baltic Sea coast. It produces oxygen and provides habitat for smaller fish.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. More news from Asia. Bangladesh's interim government, led by Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus, has decided to scrap the permanent and temporary press accreditation cards of 30 more journalists perceived to be supportive of the Awami League party. The Committee to Protect Journalists has expressed concern about the decision. Earlier on October 29th, the accreditation cards of 20 journalists were also revoked. The international organization, which works globally to protect journalists' rights, issued a statement on Tuesday saying that the organization is alarmed by such reports. It further states that interim authorities should use press accreditation as a weapon to target journalists for their work. On to Germany now. The German government has collapsed after the Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacked his finance minister Christian Lindner and paved the way for a snap election. Scholz cited persistent disagreements with finance minister for the breakdown of his centre-left coalition. In a televised address, Scholz said he had dismissed finance minister Christian Lindner, saying it was necessary to prevent harm to Germany.
We need a government that is able to act, that has the strength to make the necessary decisions for our country. That's what was important to me in the past 3 years. That's what's important to me now.
Scholz said he would now call for a confidence vote for January 15th, which could allow elections to be held by the end of March next year.
Meine Damen und Herren.
In the very first week of the parliamentary session in the new year, I will call for the confidence vote so that the Bundestag can then vote on it on January 15th. That way, parliamentarians can decide if they want to pave the way for a snap election. That election could then take place at the latest by the end of March, while respecting the rules of the Constitution.
Ich habe dem Koalitionspartner von der
Sacked German Finance Minister Christian Lindner blamed Olaf Scholz for leading Germany into a phase of uncertainty.
Olaf Scholz hat leider gezeigt,
unfortunately, Olaf Scholz has shown he does not have the strength to give his country a new boost. Instead, the Chancellor gave me an ultimatum to suspend the constitutional debt brake. I could not do that because I would have been breaking my oath of office. Therefore, in the meeting of the Coalition Committee this evening, the Chancellor has terminated the cooperation with me and the FDF. His carefully prepared statement from tonight proves that Olaf Scholz is no longer aiming for an agreement sustainable for everyone, but rather a calculated break of this coalition. With this, he is leading Germany into a phase of uncertainty.
Following the announcement, Lindner's Free Democratic Party said it had left the coalition, but Economy Minister Robert Habeck said the Greens would remain.
Wir wollen auch sagen, dass es nicht nötig gewesen wäre.
Germany will have a new decision to make for the next government coalition. Until then, we remain in office and we are firmly committed to fully fulfilling the duties of office, providing stability from within the government, which Germany can and must offer Europe.
And now let's see what can happen next after the collapse of the government in Germany. Scholz plans to carry on ruling as head of a minority government formed of his Social Democratic Party and the Greens without Lindner's FDP. Robert Habeck supports this scenario. The government will be down 91 MPs, short of 367 votes needed for majority without FDP. The Chancellor said he wanted to seek constructive cooperation on issues that are crucial for Germany. However, Scholz is unlikely to get any support. As per German constitution, the Chancellor can call for a vote of confidence in the Bundestag lower house of parliament to confirm the support of parliament. If the Chancellor fails to win a majority, they can then ask the President to dissolve parliament within 21 days. Elections must then be held within 60 days. If the vote of confidence is held on January 15th, as Scholz plans, the poll would then take place by late March. But Scholz is already facing calls from the CDU-CSU alliance to hold a confidence vote immediately. This would allow new elections to be held as early as January. Australia has joined the list of countries that have vowed to curb social media use by children through legislation. But in Australia's case, its policy is one of the most stringent in the world. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the government would legislate for a ban on social media for children under the age of 16, citing the risks to physical and mental health of children from the excessive use of social media.
Look at other people that go to your school and it's like a bit like, oh my God, I need to be like them. I need to post more. I need to get likes and stuff like that.
I get really irritated when I have more followers, but then I follow more people.
Australia has unveiled one of the world's strictest social media restrictions for children. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced that the government will introduce legislation banning social media use for children under 16 years of age.
Now, government's proposed age is 16. That decision was made in Cabinet on Monday. And that proposal will go to the National Cabinet meeting that I'm convening online, a virtual meeting tomorrow morning. The onus will be on, just to go through some of the details, the onus will be on social media platforms to demonstrate they are taking reasonable steps to prevent access. The onus won't be on parents or young people. There will be no penalties for users.
Australia is trialling an age verification system with the restriction potentially in place by the end of 2025. Albanese justified the move by citing concerns over social media's harmful effect on children's mental and physical health. The ban will apply to all children regardless of parental consent or existing accounts. The new law will target major platforms like Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, X, which was formerly Twitter, and YouTube. Australia's policy places it at the forefront of global efforts to protect children online. While France proposed a similar ban for those under 15 years last year, with parental consent as a workaround, the US has for long required parental approval for children under 13 years of age. A similar bill is to be presented in the British Parliament, with main provisions including raising the age of internet adulthood from 13 to 16. If successful, Australia's approach could serve as a model for other countries trying to address the risks of social media for kids. Bureau Report, TD India.
On to the Caribbean now. Hurricane Rafael has slammed into Cuba as a Category 3 storm before losing some strength as it passed over the island and entered the Gulf of Mexico. The hurricane, which caused power outages in multiple regions, is the fifth major hurricane of the year in the Atlantic and the strongest this late in the year since 2020. According to the U.S. National Hurricane Center, Rafael is expected to bring storm surges, flash flooding and mudslides. Amid the outages, 9 provinces in the west and central Cuba, including capital Havana, have been placed under cyclone alert. Over 70,000 people have been evacuated from their homes. This is the second blow from a hurricane in Cuba in recent weeks. Hurricane Oscar walloped Cuba in late October, killing at least 7 people. The country's power grid has collapsed multiple times and millions were left without power for 4 days following a blackout. And next we take a look at other stories making news around the world. Wildfires continue to ravage Southern California, scorching over 10,400 acres. Evacuation orders were issued for parts of the county. Over 140 firefighters were deployed to extinguish the flames. European Union's scientists said that the year 2024 will be the world's warmest year since records began. They added 2024 will also be the first year in which the planet is more than 1.5 degrees Celsius hotter than in the 1850 to 1900 pre-industrial average, when industrialized nations began exploiting fossil fuels. Britain's Prince William walked on a green carpet in the South African city of Cape Town for the 2024 Earthshot Prize, the annual global environmental award ceremony which he founded in the year 2020. Spanish police have made a record cocaine seizure after finding 13 metric tons of the drug hidden in a shipment of bananas in a container from Ecuador. Police has arrested a woman who was a partner in the company that was receiving the shipment. You're watching DD India News. Are still to come on the show. Indian government's One Rank, One Pension scheme marks its 10 years today. India is committed to building a terror-free country, says Home Minister Amit Shah in New Delhi. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I am Tanvi Taneja. A reminder of the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Biden invites Trump to the White House for peaceful transition of power as Harris concedes defeat. India's Prime Minister Modi congratulates Trump on the spectacular victory. India's consulate in Toronto cancels consular camps due to its lack of security assurance from Canadian agencies. And Germany coalition on the edge after Chancellor Olaf Scholz sacks his finance minister, faces snap elections. So back to our top story. Donald Trump is back to the White House. It was a neck-and-neck fight with Vice President Kamala Harris, but Trump managed to win the swing states and cross the majority mark needed to return to the Oval Office. But what actually led to Donald Trump's victory? Take a look. Trump took on President Biden and Kamala Harris on inflation and economy and pledged to end inflation and restore the great American dream. Joe Biden announced his withdrawal from the race, marking a delayed exit that came only after intense pressure from within his own party. Kamala Harris initially enjoyed a boost in popularity. Later, she struggled to maintain momentum and failed to articulate her positions on key issues. Republicans have captured a larger portion of the pre-election vote compared to 2020. Indian Americans increasingly seen as an influential voting bloc with the potential to shape the presidential race. Trump made gains with Muslim voters with a characteristically bold promise to end bloodshed in the Middle East. Assassination attempt on Trump was a critical moment in the campaign, which not only energized his base, but also shifted broader public opinion in his favor. Donald Trump has been an outspoken supporter of Make in America policies, taking a strong stand against illegal immigration. Donald Trump has been successful in getting maximum support from rural areas. Elon Musk became an influential ally in Trump's campaign, directly contributing over America's PAC and regularly amplifying pro-Trump content. US President-elect Donald Trump pledged to impose 60% tariffs on US imports of Chinese goods during his 2024 campaign. It poses major growth risks for the world's second largest economy. Trump launched a trade war with China back in 2018, and right now Chinese economy is in a much more vulnerable position. Donald Trump may impose additional tariffs of 60% or more on Chinese goods sold to the US. Tariff rates levied on China during Trump's first term higher than 7.5% to 25%. It could reduce China's exports by $200 billion, causing a 1 percentage point drag on the GDP. IMF calculates the total government sector debt at $20.7 trillion at the end of 2023. China doubled down on bolstering its own tech by encouraging bank loans to high-end manufacturing. This also prompted tariffs in the United States, Europe, Turkey, and elsewhere. Property crisis, debt overhang, and weak consumption have all fueled deflationary pressures. This time, the yuan might have to fall 18% against the dollar to fully offset 60% US tariffs. These levels are unseen since the 1990s Asian financial crisis. China's top leaders meet in mid-December. We'll discuss economic plans for the year ahead. And now let's discuss the impact of US presidency specifically on India-US ties. To discuss this, we have with us Professor Arvind Kumar of the United States Studies, JNU, joining us from New Delhi. Welcome, sir, to the program. First of all, broadly, do you see overall ties between India and the US led by Donald Trump being closer and stronger than before this time?
Thank you very much. I think it's a very good question you are asking. There is no denying the fact that the foundation which India and the US have already built in terms of pursuing their mutual interest, is such where this is going to be very historic for India-US relation, where a lot of these tangibles might be seen as a part of dividends. Because so far we have not come across any of the tangibles coming to India. We really have a number of agreements in place. But now I see that there is going to be some change in the US approach. And President-elect Trump basically has been very categorical in terms of pursuing the US interest in India and vice versa. It's going to be a very I think both India and the US obviously will have a very constructive engagement and improve and further their interest in the foreseeable future.
And more specifically, how do you see India-US economic relations, including on key issues like tariffs and immigration, unfolding under the new Trump administration? And do you envisage US business investment in India growing under the Trump administration?
I think that is bound to happen for the simple reason that now we have initiated a number of bilateral projects, especially on critical and emerging technology, where they have committed that they will help India in making India's Make in India stronger. So I think obviously the investment is going to come. With regard to the United States, the economic policy, I think there is going to be certainly some changes happening because of the posturing which President-elect Trump will have on tariff, and that perhaps India will have to manage. Because India also really has reached to a very maturity, in fact, very matured way. India has really been shifting its both political and economic diplomacy. And in that context, I think Trump's policy on tariff obviously will have to be managed by India in some way. But any president will have on the contrary view on China will be good for India. I think that is what I think we are going to see a change in the US approach towards India in many areas.
And what about arms sales to India? Are they likely to receive a boost? And could India now receive more sophisticated arms more easily than before from the US?
Certainly, I think India is right now strengthening its, in fact, the Make in India campaign. And in that context, obviously, India is trying to indigenize many of these arms, where India obviously will get help from the United States, because the US obviously will see that how they are going to help India in building infrastructure. Right now, as you know, the focus has been on the aerospace sector. And in that context, obviously, the US help is going to be very immense. In other part of their, in fact, export to India, obviously that will improve. But India basically right now is trying to emphasize more on buy and make. And buy and make basically will make India more stronger, because India firmly believes that if India has to become a responsible player and respectable player in the international system, it has to be becoming a net importer country and in defense equipments. And India basically slowly and steadily is moving towards that area.
Okay, and what could Trump's second term as US president mean for groupings like Quad and for joint military exercises between the two countries?
I think that is again going to be very significant, because Quad in technical sense was formalized by President-elect Trump, and obviously it has seen its evolution. But obviously we have to be very careful in terms of understanding what is their fundamental goal in Quad. Prime Minister Modi already has made a statement that Quad is not against China. So we really have to be very careful in terms of moving ahead in signaling what exactly Quad is all about. And obviously the way the US perceives India right now, where India has become a part of the solution to many of the global problems. And that perhaps obviously will give a firm shape to India-US relation in Quad. This multilateral initiative obviously has a great future, provided all the four countries in the Quad, they understand each other's, in fact, predicament. And how best India could really be emphasizing on creating win-win situation. I think that is something which India is banking on. India does not believe in zero-sum game. And the United States has to treat its Quad partner at the equal level. And if that happens, I think Quad certainly will have a great future.
Okay, and transfer of technology, especially sensitive technologies, including defense and communication technologies to India is a major issue. Do you see that receiving a boost under the new Trump presidency?
I think, as I said in the beginning, that the foundation has really been made so strong that certainly will get intensifying. At the same time, the problem where India sees happening is the US lack of willingness to share the technological know-how. The technology transfer is happening, but they obviously need to really begin with sharing the technological know-how, and that perhaps will again make both India and the US at a different level in terms of their technological collaboration and the bilateral S&T relationship.
Okay, and to sum up, would you say that overall India can look forward to greater economic, defense and strategic cooperation and closer overall ties between India and the US under the Trump administration?
I think it is bound to happen, because the understanding of the United States on India has improved. And if one really sees that the foundation was made during, again, the Republican government, the first two term of, in the first decade of this century, if you see that during a Bush term, I think the foundation really was made in every strategic core area. Only thing which India really finds basically problematic is the United States' lack of willingness in terms of pursuing bilateral interest and shaping their, in fact, S&T relation in a manner by which India could really strengthen its Make in India campaign. I think right now, I think that one core sector which I see might get a boost, and that is initiatives on critical and emerging technology. And that perhaps will define that how India and the US is going to shape their bilateral relationship in the technological sphere.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Arvind Kumar, for sharing with us the depth of India-US ties and the potential that lies ahead under Trump administration. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you very much.
The Indian Consulate in Toronto announced cancelling some of its scheduled consular camps after the Canadian security authorities failed to provide minimum security protection. The announcement by the Indian Consulate was made on the social media platform X. In the post, it was noted, in view of the security agencies conveying their inability to provide minimum security protection to the community camp organizers, the Consulate has decided to cancel some of the scheduled consular camps. The announcement by the Consulate comes merely days after the violent disruption was orchestrated by anti-India extremists, and it was seen when the Indian Consulate had co-organized a consular camp outside the Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton near Toronto. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is on a 5-day visit to Australia. The ministers met with the members of the Indian diaspora and the MPs at the Parliament of New South Wales in Sydney on Thursday. He appreciated the Indian community for their contribution in energising India-Australia partnership. Earlier in the day, Jaishankar held a meeting with CEOs and business leaders where he underlined the ongoing transformations in India in digital, infrastructure, manufacturing and skilling. He added that the robust business and investment linkages between the two are key drivers of the comprehensive strategic partnership. Remembering the veterans of the Armed Forces of India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi recounted the implementation of One Rank, One Pension scheme as the scheme marks 10 years today. Taking to social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi posted, "On this day, One Rank, One Pension was implemented. This was a tribute to the courage and sacrifices of our veterans and ex-service personnel who dedicate their lives to protecting our nation." The decision to implement One Rank, One Pension was a significant step towards addressing this long-standing demand and reaffirming our nation's gratitude to our heroes, wrote the Prime Minister. India's Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurated the two-day Anti-Terror Conference 2024 in the national capital. In his inaugural address, the minister stressed that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government is committed to building a terror-free India with its zero policy tolerance on terror. Amit Shah said fighting terrorism means legally empowering the agencies, and conference like this can play a significant role in this direction.
आप सभी जानते हैं कि 2019 से और पहले 2014 से ये 10 साल के अंदर मोदी जी के देश के प्रधानमंत्री बनने के बाद आतंकवाद के खिलाफ एक ठोस रणनीति लेकर भारत सरकार चली है। मोदी जी का एक घोष वाक्य जीरो टॉलरेंस अगेंस्ट टेररिज्म, ये न केवल भारत समग्र विश्व ने आज स्वीकार किया है, और ये 10 साल के अंदर भारत के अंदर टेररिज्म के खिलाफ लड़ने की एक मजबूत इकोसिस्टम खड़ी हुई है।
The key focus of the conference is on developing synergies among various stakeholders by establishing channels for coordinated action against the menace of terrorism. It also aims to prevent substantive inputs for future policy. I beg your pardon, it aims to present substantive inputs for future policy formulation. Moving on, the second edition of UK's Beyond Barriers 2024 conclave held at New Delhi today, an event that is quickly becoming a key platform for fostering innovation, collaboration and inclusivity. Former Minister for Women and Child Development, Smriti Irani, inaugurated this year's Beyond Barriers conclave, emphasizing the theme of women empowerment. Addressing a diverse audience, she spoke passionately about the critical role women play in shaping the future, stressing the importance of creating more inclusive spaces where women can lead and innovate. Organised by UK, the second edition of the event is inspiring individuals to collectively strive for an equitable future.
We need more and more women as business decision makers in companies, or for that matter, independently become business organizational leaders. Because when women are in those organizational positions in a business, they serve the interest of the organization from a manpower point of view better than male leaders. Women in business are more prone to incline towards a sustainable input or contribution to their communities.
The air quality index of Delhi continued to remain in the very poor category on Thursday, with a thin layer of smog engulfing several places in the national capital. The AQI of Delhi was recorded at 384 according to the Central Pollution Control Board. In a significant move aimed at curbing air pollution, the Commission for Air Quality Management in the National Capital Region and adjoining areas has amended the environmental compensation rules for stubble burning. The updated guidelines are set to take effect immediately. These aim to reduce stubble burning by imposing compensation fees based on the size of the land holdings. The new rules outline a tiered penalty structure for farmers engaged in stubble burning, with the amount increasing based on the size of their land. So farmers with less than 2 acres of land are required to pay an environmental compensation of 5,000 rupees. Farmers with 2 to 5 acres will face a 10,000 rupee penalty. Farmers with more than 5 acres of land will be charged 30,000 rupees. The revised policy represents an effort to mitigate the adverse effects of stubble burning on air quality, especially during the winter months when the issue tends to peak. The practice of burning leftover crop stubble has been a significant contributor to pollution, resulting in severe health and environmental consequences across the region. The penalties, along with awareness campaigns, are expected to dissuade farmers from burning crop residue, promoting alternatives instead. And next we take a look at more stories making news in India. India's national capital saw toxic foam floating on the Yamuna River on Thursday as pollution level in the river continues to remain high. The raised concerns among residents on the occasion of Chhath Puja as several devotees take a dip in the Yamuna River as part of the Chhath Puja rituals. A ruckus broke out at the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir Assembly session in Srinagar on Thursday between several MLAs after two members of the Legislative Assembly displayed a banner on restoration of Article 370 in J&K. The first session of the new Assembly will conclude on November 8th. Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge dissolved the Himachal Pradesh Congress Committee along with the district and block units in the state with immediate effect. On this dissolution, State Congress Committee President said that there is a need to reinforce the organization. The last rites of renowned Indian folk singer Sharda Sinha were performed with full state honours in Patna, Bihar on Thursday, as announced by Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. The singer was battling multiple myeloma, a form of blood cancer. She breathed her last on the first day of the Chhath Puja. Still to come on DD India News Hour. US Federal Reserve to announce its new benchmark interest rate decision later today. And celebrations of auspicious Chhath Puja festival underway across various states of India.
complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Celebrations of the auspicious Chhath Puja festival is underway across various states of India as devotees were seen performing puja rituals on Thursday morning at Yamuna and Ganga banks. Chhath Puja is a vibrant festival dedicated to the sun god and his consort, Chhathi Maiya, where devotees pay homage to the sun, seeking health and prosperity for their families. 4-day festival is celebrated mainly in the northern states of India. It includes rituals of fasting, bathing in rivers and prayers at sunset and sunrise. On the occasion of Chhath Puja, President of India extended greetings to all the devotees. In her message, President Murmu said, on the auspicious occasion of Chhath Puja, the holy festival of faith, fasting and devotion, I extend my hearty congratulations and warm wishes to all fellow citizens. The President further mentioned that Chhath Puja is one of the oldest festivals of the country. The US Federal Reserve will announce its new benchmark interest rate decision on Thursday after holding deliberations for the latest monetary policy decisions. Wall Street experts and economists widely expect the US Fed Chair Jerome Powell-led rate-setting panel to reduce the benchmark policy rate again after delivering its first rate cut since 2020 in September 2024. The US federal fund rate currently sits at 4.75% to 5% after the rate-setting panel slashed its benchmark rate by 50 basis points or half a percentage point during the 6th US Fed policy meeting for 2024. Public sector banks' net profits have surpassed that of private sector banks by a wide margin on a year-on-year basis. This was highlighted in a report by the State Bank of India. The report's data shows that in the second quarter of fiscal year 2024-25, India's public sector banks outperformed their private counterparts in terms of net profit growth, showing strong resilience and adaptability in a competitive banking environment. The report said in terms of profitability, PSBs have trumped the private banks by a wide margin on an year-on-year basis. It also highlighted that public sector banks collectively achieved a remarkable 39.3% year-over-year increase in net profit, significantly outpacing the 7.1% profit growth achieved by private sector banks. On to cricket now. A fine knock of 80 from wicketkeeper batter Dhruv Jurel and a wicket apiece from Mukesh Kumar and Khalil Ahmed helped India A fight back against Australia A on day one of the second unofficial test in Melbourne on Thursday. The host ended the day at 53 for 2 in 17.1 overs when rain brought proceedings to an early close, with Marcus Harris remaining unbeaten on 26 and Sam Constas giving him company. Earlier, India A found itself in a huge trouble inside the first 16 balls of the day after being put into bat on a lively pitch that had both swing and seam on offer for the quicks. India were 11 for 4 when a gritty partnership between Dhruv Jurel and Devdutt Padikkal let India's fight back. For India A, wicketkeeper batter Dhruv Jurel hit 80 of 186 balls. Kiran George upset third seed Chi Yu Zhen of Chinese Taipei to advance into the quarterfinals of the men's singles event at the Korea Masters 2024 badminton tournament in Iksan City on Thursday. World number 41 Kiran George is the only Indian badminton player competing at the BWF Super 300 tournament in South Korea. Kiran beat Jen by a 21-17, 19-21, 21-17 scoreline to move into the top 8. Kiran George will now face Japan's Takuma Obayashi on Friday, who triumphed against Malaysia's Kok Jing Yong in the round of 16. Spanish football club Barcelona earned a third consecutive Champions League win by thrashing Red Star Belgrade. The breakthrough came in the 13th minute with a wonderful delivery from the informed Rafael being headed into the back of the net by Inigo Martinez. Victory lifted Barcelona up to 6th in the new 36-team league format, and Lewandowski will have the chance to score his 100th Champions League goal at home to Brest later this month. And Paris Saint-Germain's winless run in the Champions League extended to 3 games as they were beaten at home by Atletico Madrid. Angel Correa struck in the 3rd minute of the added time at the end of a hard-fought clash to snatch victory for the Spaniards. 18-year-old PSG midfielder Warren Zaire-Emery became the youngest player in the competition's history to start 15 games. Emery marked the occasion with an early opener. The Spanish side equalized 4 minutes later when Noel Molina slammed the ball past Donnarumma from close range after their hosts failed to clear. Substitute Angel Correa scored with last kick of the game for Atletico Madrid. That's all in this bulletin, but before we go, here are some visuals of the iconic Mathiran Neral mini toy train. The service of the train resumed in Maharashtra after a short monsoon break. Having a rich history of over 150 years, the toy train covers around 20 kilometers of the journey, offering tourists a scenic route through the Mathiran hill station. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles. And for those on the go, you can catch all the latest news and updates on our DD India mobile app. So we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.